Yes, hello citizens of the internet, and Merry Christmas. I know it's
Quimbus.
early, but still.
Lay down. Chill. Chill in my room, just be quiet, okay?
You all are here. You all are hearing a wild Vince feeding his cat.
Lay down.
Yes. Hello, Anthony.
Lay down, chill.
I hope,
Merry Christmas, Anthony.
I know you're not doing well right now, so I hope the stream helps brighten your day.
I'm sorry to hear that you had pink eye, Anthony. I had that a few years ago. It's not fun.
Oh, man.
Now, the question is, are those sounds Vince settling in for the stream? Or is it because Santa's there? Hello, Cricket. How are you?
Santa?
Hello, Cam.
If Santa's here, can I have my present early?
No.
Aww.
And with those sounds, I'm officially worried about Vince.
I'm sorry, what?
I said I'm officially worried about you hearing all those sounds that are being made from your end.
No, it's just feeding his cat. It's normal.
No, I need to clean my room. That's the issue.
Okay, then.
Doing pretty good. That's good. So listening to Batotai while playing the Imperial Japanese hits. Okay, well, we're gonna be reading a fun story about Santa Claus. I don't know about Imperial Japanese stuff. Who? And how's everyone doing, like, preparing for the holidays?
Man.
After the stream, I'll be going shopping with my mother. I have my brother's present out for delivery. My parents are being uncooperative this year with what they want.
I know the feeling.
I don't celebrate. The only thing I really celebrate is, like, birthdays, because then I can just focus on getting one gift for one person.
Fair.
I don't really know what to get, so I'm just gonna get, like, a gift card and decide then.
Fair.
Open up.
Alright, so do you guys have that PDF that Vince sent, like, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I have mine up.
I'm trying to get it
Me too.
open.
Going to get your girlfriend a present? I didn't know you had a girlfriend, man. That's cool. I mean, it's being a simp, but it's cool.
Yeah, you beat me to it, you son of a bitch.
You love women? You unironically love somebody? It's kind of weird, man.
Well, I ordered something from America and it's currently in Shanghai, China, so somewhere between nervous and goddamn it. Understandable.
Yeah, you'll be fine, to my knowledge, maybe, hopefully. Okay, what do I use to open this? I just realized I have next to no programs on my phone.
I know how you feel though, Cam.
There we go.
I ordered a gift for someone, and the only place it will ship from is Australia, so it's like, oh great. Will it get to the destination from the world's penal colony in time?
Most the kangaroos will steal it.
Oh yeah, I mean, who do you think the prison officers there are now?
Well, they gotta steal to try to make up for the money they lost with Kangaroo Jack. They're still paying for it to this day.
And thus he unlocked a very, not suppressed, but long forgotten childhood memory of that movie.
Okay, now I said I wanted to try not to swear and say inappropriate things for the stream, but Anthony's one comment just now is making that very difficult.
What is PDF?
Ignore
are-
it, Chad.
Are
I'm
there
s-
words?
I'm
A random question: are there words on your PDF file?
I don't know.
Because
I'm looking at the one that I bought from Amazon before you sent the PDF file.
okay,
Mine
something's not
has
right with
words.
it.
Yeah.
Is it
Mine
the one I
does.
sent? Because
Yeah.
something might be up with my fucking thing then. 'Cause
Uh-oh.
it's blank. Oh wait, no, it just took a while to load.
Alright.
Stop using Internet Explorer.
I use Brave.
Phantom Brave?
Brave and Firefox.
Phantom Brave was a fun game.
I don't know what that is, and I'm actually kind of happy that I don't know.
It's actually, I'm not going to say what series it's from because I'll get called a weeb.
I mean, I
You know-
call you one usually not on a daily basis, but probably a weekly basis. So, like, why be self-conscious about it now?
Yeah, it's from the Nipponichi series, like with the Disgaea games and all
That
that.
the game is that series that has like those penguins.
Yeah, the Prinnies.
I like them.
They explode if you throw them.
Like most penguins.
Yep. I mean, these aren't actually penguins. These are like souls of sinners made to like do menial labor and fight.
Have you ever opened a National Geographic? I'm pretty sure penguins are just reincarnated souls of sinners.
Made to do manual labor and fight suicidal battles to repent for their
So-
sins.
So they're basically Santa's elves. We made it come full circle.
Honestly, real penguins are worse.
I believe it.
Penguins are awesome, man. I won't take any penguin slander on my chant.
Yeah, Chad, please remind me later to send Raptor various links of Casual Geographic. I'm gonna ruin this guy's life.
Anyway,
I don't care what you say. If you say anything about turtles, I'll actually stab you.
Turtles really aren't
Nope.
that problematic.
They're not problematic at all.
So,
You want to walk on that landmine? Please do.
I'm like trying to think of anything, but I really can't. Turtles just kind of do their own thing.
to get down to business.
Oh yes, stream.
Yes, this is a story written by L. Frank Baum, the man who wrote the Wizard of Oz series. And I actually first found out about it when I saw an animated version on Cartoon Network years and years ago, and I thought it was pretty cool.
Was it like an older animation that they just like to re-air like they sometimes do, or was it actually like of the time that it came out?
It was actually of the time, but there is an older one from Rankin Bass, however you say it.
Oh, Wrecking Bass.
Yeah.
Both of the same name.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Let's-
apparently there was one like even older than that.
Oh, was that what like the origin of Santa or whatever? Like as a young man?
Yeah.
I think I know what you're talking about. I
Santa
vaguely
Claus is
remember.
coming to town.
Yeah, like him growing up and eventually becoming like the immortal figure that he is. So, and I'm now putting on the screen a picture from that animated special, and don't worry, I've put in the disclaimer that I do not own any of this. I do not make money off any of this.
But I
We're
do.
poor.
Yes. Alright, so we'll do our usual for these longer stories, do 3 pages each. And hopefully we can get through the first half.
So, Watch Cartoon Online has the 1985 movie and the 2000 movie of The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus. I shall share those in Beanhaven later.
Excellent. Thank you. Alright, and so the way the book is set up is in different parts: the youth, manhood, and old age. So we're on the chapter first. Burzy. Let's get a drink here and I'll begin.
What you drinking, coaches?
Water.
Ah,
Alrighty. Have you heard of the great forest of Burzy? Nurse used to sing of it when I was a child. She sang of the big tree trunks standing close together, with their roots intertwining below the earth and their branches intertwining above it, of their rough coating of bark and queer, gnarled limbs, of the bushy foliage that roofed the entire forest, save where the sunbeams found a path through which to touch the ground in little spots and to cast weird and curious shadows over the mosses, the lichens, and the drifts of dried leaves. The forest of Burzy is mighty and grand and awesome to those who steal beneath its shade. Coming from the sunlit meadows into its mazes, it seems at first gloomy, then pleasant, and afterwards filled with never-ending delights. For hundreds of years it has flourished in all its magnificence, the silence of its enclosures unbroken save by the chirp of busy chipmunks, the growl of wild beasts, and the songs of birds. Yet Burzy has its inhabitants for all this. Nature peopled uh, Nature peopled it in the beginning with fairies, nooks, rills, and nymphs. As long as the forest stands, it will be a home, a refuge, and a playground to these sweet immortals, who revel undisturbed in its depths. Civilization has never yet reached Burzy. Will it ever, I wonder?
question.
Yes.
What are nooks and reels?
I think I've heard of reels, but I don't know about nooks.
Yeah, I don't know about nooks. They should be explained at some point.
Okay, immortal creatures, the first cousins of wood nymphs.
Okay.
And reels?
Hold on, that was reels.
Oh, that's what they.
And nooks are. This is all from like an Oz wiki. Nooks are immortal creatures ruled by a king under the command of Ark the Master Woodsman. Well, I don't know who that is either.
Nice.
I've seen its own worn and crooked. Nature's a bit rough and continually dealing with wild creatures. Okay. I think they're just like tiny, like gnome-like creatures.
Based.
Do they have feathers?
Oh, God.
They, from what I'm looking at here, they have like basically like the stereotypically like pointy caps, and one that's from I guess like an animated thing. One of them has like a hat with horns on it.
That's adorable.
Alright, and we're on to Chapter 2, The Child of the Forest. Once, so long ago our great-grandfathers could scarcely have heard it mentioned, there lived within the great forest of Burzy a wood nymph named Nesile. She was closely related to the mighty Queen Zerline, and her home was beneath the shade of a wide-spreading oak. Once every year, on budding day, when the trees put forth their new buds, Nesile held the golden chalice of Ak to the lips of the queen, who drank therefrom to the prosperity of the forest. So you see she was a nymph of some importance, and moreover, it is said she was highly regarded because of her beauty and grace. When she was created, she could not have told. Queen Zerline could not have told. The great Ak himself could not have told. It was long ago when the world was new and nymphs were needed to guard the forests and to minister to the wants of the young trees. Then, on some day not remembered, Nesile sprang into being, radiant, lovely, straight and slim as the sapling she was created to guard. Her hair was the color that lines a chestnut burr. Her eyes were blue in the sunlight and purple in the shade. Her cheeks bloomed with the faint pink that edges the clouds at sunset. Her lips were full red, pouting and sweet. For costume she adopted oak leaf green, and all the wood nymphs dress in that color and know no other so desirable. Her dainty feet were sandal-clad, while her head remained bare of covering other than her silken tresses. Kenzie?
I just want to. It reminds me, because like this is really charming, and I was actually revisited just recently. So there was Jim Henson did a series called The Storyteller, and then did a spin-off of The Storyteller with Greek mix with Michael Gambon. I don't know, Gambon.
Gambin.
The second Dumbledore. And I know people remember more fondly the fairy tale one, but I actually was introduced to the Greek mix one first, and it reminds me of the episode of Orpheus and Eurydice, which I just watched for last night. And the scene when she comes out of the tree is just so charming, and Michael Gambon's narration is just like so wistful and charming that it always just makes me smile.
Nice.
You're saying the narration style reminds you of that?
Yeah, because like when she comes out of the tree in Greek myths, and he goes, "It was the wood nymph from Eurydice, and his music had brought her into the world of men," and he sounds just so wistful and
Okay.
it's just so cute. I'll post they only made 4 episodes, which is understandable because again they're Greek myths, so they're all unlike the fairy tales, they're always a downer. So, but I get a kick out of them.
All right then.
Nasile's duties were few and simple. She kept hurtful weeds from growing beneath her trees and sapping the earth food required by her charges. She frightened away the gadgles
Yes.
who took evil delight in flying against the tree trunks and wounding them so that they drooped and died from the poisonous contact. In dry season, she carried water from the brooks and pools and moistened the roots of her thirsty dependents. That was in the beginning. The weeds had now learned to avoid the forests where the wood nymphs dwelt. The loathsome gadgles no longer dared come nigh. The trees had become old and sturdy and could bear the drought better than when fresh sprouted. So Nasile's duties were lessened, and time grew laggard, while succeeding years became more tiresome and uneventful than the nymph's joyous spirit loved. Truly, the forest dwellers did not lack amusement. Each full moon they danced in the royal circle of the queen. There were also the feast of nuts, the jubilee of autumn tintings, the solemn ceremony of leaf shedding, and the revelry of budding day. But these periods of enjoyment were far apart, and many weary hours between. That a wood nymph should grow discontented was not thought of by Nasile's sisters. It came upon her only after many years of brooding. But once she had settled in her mind that life was irksome, she had no patience with her condition, and longed to do something of real interest, and to pass her days in ways with hitherto undreamed of by forest nymphs. The law of the forest alone restrained her from going forth in search of adventure. While this moon lay heavy upon pretty Nasile, it chanced that the great Ak visited the forest of Burzy and allowed the wood nymphs, as was their wont, to lie in at his feet and listen to the words of wisdom that fell from his lips. Ak is the master woodsman of the world. Well, that answers that one part you read, Vince. He sees everything and knows more than the sons of men. That night he held the queen's hand, for he loved the nymphs as a father loves his children, and Nasile lay at his feet with many of her sisters, and earnestly hearkened as he spoke.
We live so happily, my fair ones, in our forest glades,
Said Ak, stroking his grizzled beard thoughtfully,
that we know nothing of the sorrow and misery that fall to the lot of those poor mortals who inhabit the open spaces of the earth. They are not of our race, it is true, yet compassion well befits beings so fairly favored as ourselves. Often as I pass by the dwelling of some suffering mortal, I am tempted to stop and banish the poor thing's misery. Yet suffering, in moderation, is the natural lot of mortals, and it is not our place to interfere with the laws of nature.
Nevertheless, said the fair queen, nodding her golden head at the master woodsman, it would not be a vain guess that Ak has often assisted these hapless mortals. Ak smiled.
Sometimes,
He replied,
when they are very young, children, the mortals call them, I have stopped to rescue them from misery. The men and women I dare not interfere with. They must bear the burdens nature has imposed upon them. But the helpless infants, the innocent children of men, have a right to be happy until they become full grown and able to bear the trials of humanity. So I feel I am justified in assisting them. Not long ago, a year maybe, I found 4 poor children huddled in a wooden hut, slowly freezing to death. Their parents had gone to a neighboring village for food and had left a fire to warm their little ones while they were absent. But a storm arose and drifted the snow in their path, so they were long on the road. Meantime, the fire went out, and the frost crept into the bones of the waiting children.
Poor things, murmured the queen softly. What did you do?
I called Nelko, bidding him fetch wood from my forest and breathe upon it until the fire blazed again and warmed the little room where the children lay. Then they ceased shivering and fell asleep until their parents came.
I'm glad you did thus, said the good queen, beaming upon the master, and Naseel, who had eagerly listened to every word, echoed in a whisper. Wait, is Naseel not the queen?
No.
Oh. I too am glad,
And this very night,
continued Ak.
as I came to the edge of Burzy, I heard a feeble cry, which I judged came from a human infant. I looked about me and found, close to the forest, a helpless babe, lying quite naked upon the grasses and waiting piteously.
Wailing.
Well, not far away, screened by the forest, crouched Shigra, the lioness, intent upon devouring the infant for her evening meal.
And what did you do, Ak? Asked the queen breathlessly.
Not much, being in a hurry to greet my nymphs, but I commanded Shigra to lie close to the babe, and to give it her milk to quiet its hunger. And I told her to send word throughout the forest to all beasts and reptiles that the child should not be harmed.
Okay, I'm glad it turned out well, because what did you do? Not much. I was in a hurry to see you guys. Made it sound like you didn't do nothing at first.
Oh, come on. You would expect that from the gentleman who wrote the sequel to Alice in Wonderland, where she gets electroshock therapy and her friends get horribly mutilated repeatedly.
I think you've confused him with American McGee. Anyway, I am glad you did thus, said the good queen again in a tone of relief. But this time the seal did not echo her words, for the nymph, filled with a strange resolve, had suddenly stolen away from the group. Swiftly her leaf form darted through the forest paths until she reached the edge of the mighty Burzy, when she paused to gaze curiously about her. Never until now had she ventured so far, for the law of the forest had placed the nymphs in the inmost depths. Was this 3? Yes. Do you want me to just finish it up? Because it's the last one before at the end of the chapter.
Yeah.
Okay. Naseel knew she was breaking the law, but the thought did not give pause to her dainty feet. She had decided to see with her own eyes this infant Ak had told of, and she had never yet beheld a child of man. All the immortals are full grown. There are no children among them. Peering through the trees, Naseel saw the child laying on the grass. But now it was sweetly sleeping, having been comforted by the milk drawn from Shigra. It was not old enough to know what peril means. If it did not feel hunger, it was content. Softly the nymph stole to the side of the babe and knelt upon the sward, her long robe of rose leaf color spreading about her like a gossamer cloud. Her lovely countenance expressed curiosity and surprise, but, most of all, a tender, womanly pity. The babe was newborn, chubby and pink. It was entirely helpless. While the nymph gazed, the infant opened its eyes, smiled upon her, and stretched out 2 dimpled arms. In another instant, Naseel had caught it to her breast and was hurrying with it through the forest paths. That's adorable.
Let's see. Chapter 3, The Adoption.
Chubby baby.
Vince, would
Who's
you like
next?
to take the next three?
Yeah, sure. The Master Woodsman suddenly rose, with knitted brows.
There's a strange presence in the forest.
He declared. Then the Queen and her nymphs turned and saw standing before them Necile, with the sleeping infant clasped tightly in her arms and a defiant look in her deep blue eyes. And thus for a moment they remained, the nymphs filled with surprise and consternation, but the brow of the Master Woodsman was gradually clearing as he gazed intently upon the beautiful immortal who had wilfully broken the law. Then the great Ak, to the wonder of all, laid his hand softly on Lucile's flowing locks and kissed her on her fair forehead.
For the first time within my knowledge,
Said he gently.
a nymph has defied me and my laws. Yea, in my heart can I find no word of chiding. What is your desire, Necile?
Let me keep the child.
She answered, beginning to tremble and falling on her knees in supplication.
Here, in the forest of Burzy, where the human race has never yet penetrated.
Questioned Og.
Here, in the forest of Burzy.
Replied the nymph boldly.
It is my home, and I am weary for the lack of occupation. Let me care for the babe. See how weak and helpless it is? Surely it cannot harm Burzy, nor the master woodsman of the world.
But the law, child, the law.
Cried Og sternly.
The law is made by the master woodsman.
Returned Necile.
If he bids me care for the babe he himself has saved from death, who in all the world dare oppose me?
Queen Zerline, who had listened intently to this conversation, clapped her pretty hands gleefully at the nymph's answer.
You are fairly trapped, Oak.
She exclaimed, laughing.
Now I pray you, give heed to Necile's petition.
The woodsman, as was his habit when in thought, stroked his grizzled beard slowly. Then he said,
She shall keep the babe, and I will give it to my protection. But I warn you all that as this is the first time I have relaxed the law, so shall it be the last time. Nevermore, to the end of the world, shall a mortal be adopted by an immortal. Otherwise, would we abandon our happy existence for one of trouble and anxiety. Good night, my nymphs.
And then Og was gone from their midst, and Necile hurried away to her burrow to rejoice over her newfound treasure. Chapter 4, Claus. Another day found Necile's bower. Is that how you pronounce that?
I think Bauer.
Or bower, was the most popular place in the forest. Nymphs clustered around her and the child that lay asleep in her lap with expressions of curiosity and delight. Nor were they wanting in praises for the great Ox's kindness in allowing Necile to keep the babe and care for it. Even the queen came to peer into the innocent child's face and hold a helpless chubby fist in her own fair hand.
What shall we call him, Necile?
She asked, smiling.
He must have a name, you know. Let him be called Claus,
Answered Necile.
for that means little one. Rather let
Wait.
him be called Niklaus,
Returned the queen.
for that will mean Necile's little one.
The nymphs clapped their hands in delight, and the Klaus became the infant's name, though Necile loved it best to call him Klaus, and in many after days of the sisters followed her example. Necile gathered the softest moss in all the forest for Klaus to lay upon, and she made his bed in her own bower. Or bower, excuse me.
So there's a little
A blurb
note.
right here.
Yes. Some people have
Some
spelled
people
this.
have spelled. Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Go on. No, you're good.
Some people have spelled this name Niklaus, or others Nicholas, which is the reason that Santa Claus is still known in some lands as Saint Nicholas. But of course, Niklaus is the right name, and Klaus the nickname given him by his adopted mother, the fairy nymph Necile.
I'm gonna call my brother Niklaus and see what he does.
And Caleb says,
Probably
damn,
light
this
your
baby's
hair on
small.
fire while
Gotta
you're
call him
sleeping.
small.
That's kind of an ironic name given how he turns out as an adult.
Yep.
He has many things, and small is not one of them.
Big belly full of jelly.
Raptor, you want to take the next three?
Oh, sorry, go on.
Okay. Of food, the infant had no lack. The nymphs searched the forest for bell udders, which grow upon the goa tree,
Bell letters?
and when opened, are found to be filled with sweet milk. And the soft-eyed does willingly gave a share of their milk to support the little stranger, while Shigua,
Yes.
Shigua, the lioness, often crept stealthily into Nasile's bower and purred softly as she lay beside the babe and fed it.
She was going to eat him.
So the little one flourished and grew big and sturdy day by day, while Nasile taught him to speak and to walk and to play. His thoughts and words were sweet and gentle, for the nymphs knew no evil, and their hearts were pure and loving. He became the pet of the forest, for Axe decree had forbidden beast or reptile to molest him, and he walked fearlessly whenever his will guided him. Presently, the news had reached the other immortals that the nymphs of Burzy had adopted a human infant, and that the act had been sanctioned by the great Ak. Therefore, many of them came to visit the little stranger, looking upon him with much interest. First,
The reels.
The wheels, who are first cousins to the wood nymphs, although so differently formed, for the whales are required to watch over the flowers and the plants, as the nymphs watch over the forest trees. They search the wide world for the food required by the roots of the flowering plants, while the brilliant colors possessed by the full-blown flowers are due to the dyes placed in the soils by the whales, which are drawn through the little veins in the roots in the body of the plants as they reach maturity. The whales are a busy people, for their flowers bloom and fade continually, but they are merry and light-hearted, and are very popular with the other immortals. Next came the nukes, whose duty it is to watch over the beasts of the world, both gentle and wild. The nukes have a hard time of it, since many of the beasts are ungovernable and rebel against restraint. Hang on, my grandma's calling me at this time.
Alrighty.
Going on in the chat. Let's see. Not much. Okay,
back.
Damn, this baby's small. I'm gonna call him small.
Okay. But they know how to manage them after all, and you will find that certain laws of the nukes are obeyed, even by the most ferocious of animals. Their anxieties make the nukes look old and worn and crooked, and their natures are a bit rough from associating with wild creatures continually. Yet they are the most useful to humanity and to the world, as as their laws are the only laws the forest beasts recognize except those of the Master Woodsman. Then there are...
I do kind of find that concept, like in and of itself, amusing. Where the whole species, like they look haggard, and it seems like you just assume like, oh, it must be some kind of weird genetic thing. Like, no, it's just that they're so stressed out from having this one job for the entirety of their existence that they just naturally look old now.
Yep.
Then there were the fairies, the guardians of mankind, who were much interested in the adoption of Claus because their own laws forbid them to become familiar with their human charges. There are instances on record where the fairies have shown themselves to human beings and have even conversed with them. But they are supposed to guard the lives of mankind, unseen and unknown. And if they favor some people more than others, it is because they have won such distinction fairly, as the fairies are very just and impartial. But the idea of adopting a child of man had never occurred to them because it was in every way opposed to their laws. So their curiosity was intense to behold the little stranger, adopted by Necile and her sister nymphs. Claus looked upon the immortals who thronged around. It's pronounced thronged, right?
Yes.
Okay. Around with him, with fearless eyes and smiling lips. He rode laughingly upon the shoulders of the merry whales. He mischievously pulled the grey beards of the low-browed nooks. He rested his curly head confidently upon the dainty bosom of the fairy queen herself. And the whales loved the sound of his laughter. The nooks loved his courage. The fairies loved his innocence. The boy made friends of them all, and learned to know their laws intimately. No forest flower was trampled beneath his feet, lest the friendly whales should be grieved. He never interfered with the beasts of the forest, lest lest his friends, the nooks, should become very angry. The fairies he loved dearly, but knowing nothing of mankind, he could not understand. What was that, 3 pages?
I'll just finish up.
Yeah, God.
Okay. That he was the only one of his race admitted to friendly intercourse with them. Indeed, Claus came to consider that he alone of all the forest people had no like nor fellow to him. The forest was the world. He had no idea that millions of toiling, striving human creatures existed, and he was happy and content.
Alright, Chapter 5, The Master Woodsman. Years pass swiftly in Bursey, for the nymphs have no need to regard the time in any way. Even centuries make no change in the dainty creatures. Ever and ever they remain the same, immortal and unchanging. Claus, however, being mortal, grew to manhood day by day. Necile was disturbed, presently, to find him too big to lie in her lap, and he had a desire for other food than milk. His stout legs carried him into Bursey's heart, where he gathered supplies of nuts and berries, as well as several sweet and wholesome roots, which suited his stomach better than the bell udders. He sought Necile's bower less frequently, till finally it became his custom to return thither only to sleep. The nymph, who had come to love him dearly, was puzzled to comprehend the changed nature of her charge, and unconsciously altered her own mode of life to conform to his whims. She followed him readily through the forest paths, as did many of her sister nymphs, explaining as they talked all the mysteries of the gigantic wood and the habits and nature of the living things which dwelt beneath its shade. The language of the beasts became clear to little Claus, but he never could understand their sulky and morose tempers. Only the squirrels, the mice, and the rabbits seemed to possess cheerful and merry spirits. Yet would the boy laugh when the panther growled, and stroke the bear's glossy coat, Well, the creature snarled and bared its teeth menacingly.
That's what stands out to you. Oh my god, I got to pet a bear.
Yeah. It doesn't matter that
Awesome.
was like ready to bite at him. That would be me. It'd be like, oh yeah, good boy.
That's how we're gonna die.
Yep.
Chad, he
I mean-
tried to pet a bear.
I die happily.
Nice and wholesome bit of, I guess, an interesting, I guess, bit of what you could call character growth, where his adopted mother has no frame of reference as to how to raise a mortal child, and she probably like spent like lifetimes basically doing the same routine, like I can't remember the word, in perpetuity, I think is how you pronounce it. But she immediately tries to accommodate his needs and does it so happily, and
Yep.
that's kind of nice.
Hello, Mr. Clark. Right. The growls and snarls were not for Klaus. He well knew. So what did they matter? He could sing the songs of the bees, recite the poetry of the wood flowers, and relate the history of every blinking owl in Bursey. He helped the rills to feed their plants and the nooks to keep order among the animals. The little immortals regarded him as a privileged person, being especially protected by Queen Zerline and her nymphs, and favored by the great Ak himself. One day the master woodsman came back to the forest of Bursey. He had visited, in turn, all his forests throughout the world, and they were many and broad. Not until he entered the glade where the queen and her nymphs were assembled to greet him did Ak remember the child he had permitted Necile to adopt. Then he found, sitting familiarly in the circle of lovely immortals, a broad-shouldered, stalwart youth, who, when erect, stood fully as high as the shoulder of the master himself. Ak paused.
Now I'm starting to get why you put a bar on us for making certain
Ak
kind of
paused,
jokes.
silent and frowning, to bend his piercing gaze upon Klaus. The clear eyes met his own steadfastly, and the woodsman gave a sigh of relief as he marked their placid depths and read the youth's brave and innocent heart. Nevertheless, as Ak sat beside the fair queen, and the golden chalice, filled with rare nectar, passed from lip to lip, the master woodsman was strangely silent and reserved, and stroked his beard many times with a thoughtful motion. With morning, he called Klaus aside, in kindly fashion, saying, Bid goodbye for a time to Necile and her sisters, for you shall accompany me on my journey through the world. The venture pleased Klaus, who knew well the honor of being companion of the master woodsman of the world. But Necile wept for the first time in her life, and clung to the boy's neck as if she could not bear to let him go. The nymph who had mothered this sturdy youth was still as dainty, as charming and beautiful as when she dared to face Ak with the babe clasped to her breast. Nor was her love less great. Ak beheld the two clinging together, seemingly as brother and sister to one another, and again he wore his thoughtful look.
Step 3.
Yep.
Chapter 6. Claus discovers humanity. Taking Claus to a small clearing in the forest, the master said,
Place your hand upon my girdle, and hold fast while we journey through the air. For now shall we encircle the world, and look upon many of the haunts of those men from whom you are descended.
For anyone who doesn't know, because girdle's usually associated with like what a woman wears around her leg. Girdle can also mean belt.
Yes.
These words caused Claus to marvel, for until now he had thought himself the only one of his kind upon the earth. Yet in silence he grasped firmly the girdle of the great Ak, his astonishment forbidding speech. Then the vast forest of Bursey seemed to fall away from their feet, and the youth found himself passing swiftly through the air at a great height. Ere long there were spires beneath them, while buildings of many shapes and colors met their downward view. It was a city of men, and Ak, pausing to descend, led Klaus to its enclosure. Said the master,
So long as you hold fast to my girdle, you will remain unseen by all mankind, though seeing clearly yourself. To release your grasp will be to separate yourself forever from me and your home in Bursey.
No pressure. One of the first laws of the forest is obedience, and Claus had no thought of disobeying the master's wish. He clung fast to the girdle and remained invisible. Thereafter, with each moment passed in the city, the youth's wonder grew. He, who had supposed himself created differently from all others, now found the earth swarming with creatures of his own kind.
Indeed,
Said Ak.
the immortals are few, but the mortals are many.
Klaus looked earnestly upon his fellows. There were sad faces, gay and reckless faces, pleasant faces, anxious faces, and kindly faces, all mingled into puzzling disorder. Some worked at tedious tasks, some strutted in impudent conceit. Some were thoughtful and gave, while others seemed happy and content. Men of many natures were there, as everywhere, and Klaus found himself to please him and much to make him sad. But especially he noted the children, first curiously, then eagerly, then lovingly. Ragged little ones rolled in the dust of the streets, playing with scraps and pebbles. Other children, gaily dressed, were propped upon cushions and fed with sugar plums. Yet the children of the rich were not happier than those playing with the dust and pebbles, it seemed to Claus.
Childhood is the time of man's greatest content.
Said Ak, following the youth's thoughts.
'Tis during these years of innocent pleasure that the little ones are most free from care.
Tell me about it.
Vince, would you like to be Klaus?
Oh, sorry. Give me 1 second. Let me just do this real quick. I'm sorry. I'm. I don't know if it annoy you, but I'm reading ahead.
No worries.
Oh, where were you? I'm sorry.
Tell me.
Tell me.
Said Klaus.
Why do not all these babies fare alike?
I'm sorry that if I keep going back and forth between pronouncing it as Claus and Klaus.
I thought I had a joke to make, but it left my mind immediately.
Sorry. But yeah, sorry if I keep going back and forth on that. During the holidays I watched the Netflix show or movie Klaus, so it kind of fucks up how I pronounce it.
Is that the
from
one with
Descendants.
Are you talking about the movie that was the last thing Norm Macdonald did?
Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to see that. It actually kind of looks fun.
It's really charming. And it's funny and it's cute and I
dig the animation
to
style.
look at.
Right,
oh my god, it's so good.
Well, Kens, you're in luck. I checked the rules, and there's a clause saying that you can pronounce it either way.
Chad,
I'm not having
just
this.
because it's Christmas doesn't mean I'm not gonna
I'm done.
beat you.
I'm done with you now and forever. This is a relatively short story. We're like, I think, 1/5 of the way done now.
Yep.
I wish I could do voices.
All right, it's your turn. It's your line. I mean, Chad.
Yeah. Because they are born in both cottage and palace.
Returned the master.
The difference in the wealth of the parents determines the lot of the child. Some are carefully tended and clothed in silks and dainty linen. Others are neglected and covered with rags.
All of them seem equally fair and sweet,
said Klaus thoughtfully.
Well, they are babes, yes.
Agreed Ak.
Then comes puberty. Their joy is in being alive, and they do not stop to think. In after years, the doom of mankind overtakes them, and they find they must struggle and worry, work and fret, to gain the wealth that is so dear to the hearts of men.
Relatable.
Such things are unknown in the forest where you were reared.
Gee, thanks for picking this story out for Christmas, Chad.
You're welcome.
Hey guys, said Chad, for Christmas I'm gonna give you
Nice wholesome,
bread.
nice wholesome story. Get your mind off of the wear and tear of Black Friday.
Just the worries of the world around the holidays.
Yeah, children get beat down and they become gray and old and miserable. That happiness, the light comes right out of their eyes. That's kind of what mankind's like. And Klaus is like, oh, well, let's go home now.
Well, literally the next line.
Klaus was silent a moment. Then he asked,
I just imagine him like staring at Ack, like his eyes wide, like disturbed. Oh, well, quickly changing the
What?
subject.
Why was I reared in the forest among those who are not of my race?
Then Ack, in gentle voice, told him the story of his babyhood, how he had been abandoned at the forest's edge and left a prey to wild beasts, and how the loving nymph Nacille had rescued him and brought him to manhood under the protection of the immortals.
I just have to say, when I heard the word babyhood, I imagined like a baby wearing like a little suit of armor and carrying a sword and shield.
One of Batman's nearest children or progeny or whatever you want to call them. Yet I am not one of them.
Said Klaus musingly,
You are not one of them.
returned the woodsman.
The nymph who cared for you as a mother seems now like a sister to you. By and by, when you grow old and gray, she will seem like a daughter. Yet another brief span, and you will be but a memory, while she remains Nacille.
Jesus.
I really like that line. Like I like how this has a very whimsical and like lighthearted tone, but it doesn't shy away from the reality of things.
Yeah,
I do too.
agree.
Like we're gonna make jokes because that's just what we do, but
Like it's very it's rooted in reality in regards to the situations that you endure, but it has a very, I guess, optimistic approach to like it is what it is, but there's no reason to be like beaten down by life.
yeah, like it still has that whimsy of the forest creatures with like the fairies and the nymphs and stuff, but and then it's like now here's manhood, and it's basically their life's great as a child, and then you grow up, and then you work until you die.
And Anthony just said at least he's honest, and that's what I like. You know, it is a children's book. You know, it's something that can give them a lot of wonder, but at the same time, it's not talking down to them or trying to shield them from reality.
That reminds me of I didn't watch the video itself, but it was described to me. It was an older man, a gentleman that was like showing his son like pictures of him as a child, and it was like a picture of him with his dad, and the child looks at it and like somehow he discerns like, wait a minute, the grandpa's not here, and that's when you were my age. That means that you're going to be gone one day. And he starts crying.
Aw.
Aw.
But like that's something that you can't shy away from. At some point, you're gonna. It sucks, but you have to confront that reality.
Yeah.
Yep.
This
I'm sorry.
is you, Vince. Then why?
Then why, if man must perish, is he born? Demanded. Like he's actually getting kind of worked up now. Well, to be fair, after what he just told, like, yeah, you're just gonna be die and be a memory, and Lucie's just gonna still be around.
Yeah.
Demanded the boy.
Everything perishes except the world itself and its keepers.
Answered Ack.
But while life lasts, everything on earth has its use. The wise seek ways to be helpful to the world, for the helpful ones are sure to live again.
Much of this Klaus failed to understand fully, but a longing seized him to become helpful to his fellows, and he
Aw.
remained grave and thoughtful while they resumed their journey. They visited many dwellings of men in many parts of the world, watching farmers toil in the fields, warriors dash into cruel fray, and merchants exchange their goods for bits of white and yellow metal. And everywhere the eyes of Klaus sought out the children in love and pity, for the thought of his own helpless babyhood was strong within him, and he yearned to give help to the innocent little ones of his race, even as he had been
Suckered.
suckered by the kindly nymph. I don't think that's how it's pronounced, but
It sounds like you got deceived.
Yeah. Day by day, the master woodsman and his pupil traversed the earth, X speaking but seldom to the youth who clung steadfastly to his girdle, but guiding him into all places where he might become familiar with the lives of human beings. And at last they returned to the grand old forest of Burzy, where the master set Klaus down within the circle of nymphs, among whom the pretty Necile anxiously awaited him. The brow of the great Ak was now calm and peaceful, but the brow of Klaus had become lined with deep thought. Necile sighed at the change in her foster son, who until now had been ever joyous and smiling, and the thought came to her that never again would the life of the boy be the same as before this eventful journey with the master.
It just occurred to me that, like, again, Lucille's lived like countless lifetimes, but at the same time, I guess her lack of any overall experience means that she also is relatively lacking in wisdom, right?
Kind of. Yeah.
Probably.
Like the fact that she seems almost disappointed to see that he's like he's wizened up to the way of the world. And I don't think that she's ever had to deal with that herself at any point. So I think that I don't know if that's gonna arise any conflict, but I think that's where there's gonna be a change in their dynamic.
We'll see. And I believe it's your turn now, Vince.
Oh, chapter 7, Claus leaves the forest. I keep the Claus and God damn it. I wouldn't have noticed if you didn't point out.
Sorry. Not really.
When good Queen Zerline had touched the golden chalice with her fair lips and had passed around the circle of honor of the traveler's return, the master woodsman of the world, who had not yet spoken, turned his gaze frankly upon Klaus and said,
Well?
The boy understood, and rose slowly to his feet beside Necile. Once only his eyes passed around the familiar circle of nymphs. Everyone who... What is happening over there? I can't... It sounded like someone was laughing. Everyone... My brain is fried for a second. Give me a second. Everyone whom remembered everyone who he had remembered as a loving comrade, but tears came unbidden to dim his sight, so he gazed thereafter steadfastly at the master. I have been ignorant, he said simply, until the great Ak in his kindness taught me who and what I am. You, who live so sweetly in your forest bowers, ever fair and youthful and innocent, are no fit comrades for a son of humanity. For I have looked upon man, finding him doomed to live for a brief space upon this earth, to toil for things that he needs, to fade into old age, and then to pass away as the leaves in autumn. Yet every man has his mission, which is to leave the world better in some way than he found it. I am of the race of men, and man's lot is my lot. For your tender care of the poor forsaken babe you adopted, as well as your loving comradeship during my boyhood, my heart will ever flow with gratitude, my foster mother. Here he stooped and kissed Nasile's white forehead. I shall love and cherish life while it lasts, but I must leave you to take part in my endless struggle to which humanity is doomed, and to leave my life in my own way.
Kens?
Will you do?
The queen asked the queen gravenly. I must devote myself to the care of the children of mankind, and try to make them happy, he answered. Since your own tender care of a babe brought me happiness and strength, it is just and right that I devote my life to the pleasure of other babes, excuse me. Thus, will the memory of the loving nymph Necile be planted within the hearts of thousands of my race for many years to come, and our kindly act be recounted in song and in story while the world shall last. I have spoken well, O master.
You have spoken well.
I beg to differ. I started all over myself.
Nah, you're good, man.
Returned Ock, rising to his feet, he continued.
Yet one thing must be forgotten. Having been
Not be
adopted as
forgotten.
the... Oh, must not be forgotten, thank you. Having been adopted as the child of the forest and the playfellow of the nymphs, you have gained a distinction which forever separates you from your kind. Therefore, when you go forth into the world of men, you shall retain the protection of the forest, and the powers you now enjoy will remain with you to assist you in your labors. In any need, you may call upon the nymphs, the reels, the nooks, and the fairies, and they will serve you gladly. I, the master woodsman of the world, have said it, and my word is the law. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't mean to take away from the moment. I just imagine, like...
Wait.
him
Are you gonna
saying-
make a Judge Dredd joke?
No.
Damn it.
Like, him saying that, like, putting on sunglasses. Yeah!
I was more thinking of when you accidentally said it as one thing must be forgotten. I thought like, oh my god, is he gonna like erase his memory of his family growing up?
Oh, shit.
It's like, you're going back to humanity, so you know a little bit too much.
Again, puts
Nothing
on
personal,
sunglasses,
kid.
pulls out a little silver pen-like object.
Just look right into this.
See,
Just-
what I thought you were gonna do is I thought you were gonna do a Sylvester Stallone impression. I am the law.
No, the story doesn't deserve that.
Maybe
Claus looked upon. Oh, sorry,
maybe
go
I
on.
will make his voice Sylvester Stallone from now on.
Please don't.
Don't.
Claus looked upon Ock with grateful eyes. Wait, is this Claus? I think it's Claus thing.
Yeah.
This will make me mighty among men, he replied. I have an advantage. So they will fall
I
at
will
my
rule the world.
they will fall at my feet, and everyone will be happy, or else.
Uh-oh, I think we're seeing the rise of Fire Lord Ozai.
Excuse me. A little kid comes along trying to stop evil Santa Claus. Like, you have the power to stop this. That's right, child. I do have the power.
Yeah, gives a nod and taps the side of his nose. The kid explodes.
What have you done to me? I
that's
took
what
away your presents.
No, I took away your Christmas cheer. You're powerless.
Why do you sound like Matt Dixon doing a disturbingly whimsical impression?
No, well, that's how.
You're right, child.
that-
I do have the power.
That's how the series ends. Like, Santa Claus gets added to his own naughty list. This will, protected by these kind friends, I may be able to make thousands of little children happy. Only thousands?
I mean, this is...
I guess the
centuries
rest.
ago.
I guess there's still at least millions. Like, well, then again, there's probably like a real. I don't know. I'm just being cynical. This is very charming. I'm just being a jerk.
Also, remember, keep in mind, when this was written, you were lucky if you made it past birth.
Yeah.
True. I will try very hard to do my duty, and I know the forest people will give me their sympathy and help,"
We will.
said the fairy queen earnestly.
Raptor, you want to be the reels?
I want to be the nukes, to be honest.
Okay.
Well, of course,
We
who
will.
wouldn't be? Cried the merry Riles, laughing.
We will.
I thought when you were grunting, I thought that's what all you were gonna do.
Yeah, like Boomhauer. Uh-huh.
We're gonna be outside your Santa Claus, man. You'll be on good list and gonna help all children, man.
I don't get paid enough for this shit.
No,
Okay.
no swearing.
That-
Shouted the Nook scowling.
Okay, we got Ak, who is the woodsman. Bill, who is the reels.
No.
Boomhauer is the nooks.
Not doing this. No, never again. We will, exclaimed the sweet nymphs proudly, but Nasile said nothing. She only folded Claus in her arms and kissed him tenderly. Oh, The world is big, continued the boy, turning again to his loyal friends, but men are everywhere. I shall begin my work near my friends, so that if I meet with misfortune, I could come to the forest for counsel or help. I like how he's being realistic about it. Like, I probably shouldn't stray too far from my home. So if I want to start out, I gotta
Let's
I gotta
start with
make
a
sure that I
plan.
still got my connections. With that, he gave them all a loving look and turned away. There was no need to say goodbye. That's something that's been, it's not, it doesn't irk me, but it's all curious. Like, is that how they spelled goodbye back then?
Presumably.
Yeah, apparently either one was acceptable at the time.
Didn't the term goodbye it means something specific, like it was because traveling from town to town was like there was a genuine risk you might get killed along the way.
Yeah.
So I think it was like a shorthand form of like a good blessing or something like that. Like make sure like good luck on the journey to visit your dad this is his first birthday without getting violently killed by some kind of vagabond. But for him, the sweet and wild life of the forest was over. He went forth bravely to meet his doom, the doom of the race of man, and the necessity to worry and work. But Ak, who knew the boy's heart, was merciful and guided his steps. Coming through Burzy, I don't know why we keep I don't know why that trips us up sometimes. To its eastern edge, Claus reached the laughing valley of Hohaho. I gotta look that up. Is that a real place? No. No, it's another it's another odd thing in the Oz wiki.
Nice.
On each side were the rolling green hills, and a brook wandered midway between them to wind afar beyond the valley. Or is it wind? To wind afar beyond the valley. At his back was the grim forest. At the far end of the valley was a broad plain. The eyes of the young man, which until now had reflected his grave thoughts, became brighter as he stood silent, looking upon the laughing valley. Then, on a sudden, his eyes twinkled, as stars do in the night, and grew merry and wide. For at his feet, the cowslips and daisies smiled on him in friendly regard. The breeze whistled gaily. Did I say that right? Gaily or gaily?
Yeah.
Gaily. I always thought, is that how you spell? Like, I'm feeling gay, like I'm happy. Is that how you spelled it?
You spell when you're saying when you're saying it like that, you still spell it Gay, but when you're using it gaily, like as an adjective, you spell it like that.
Also,
I had no idea.
I just have to say there's something wrong with my brain. I just imagine like there being like an action RPG version of this. It's like in the Laughing Valley, the enemies you run into there are the girls of the valley. Like, hey, over here, we totally want to ask you something.
I dislike you very intensely at this particular moment. I don't know why. I just do. As it passed by and fluttered the locks on his forehead, the brook laughed joyously as it leaped over the pebbles and swept around the green curves of its banks. Bees sang sweet songs as they flew from dandelion to daffodil. Beetles chirruped happily along the long grass, and the sunbeams glinted pleasantly over the scene. "Here," cried Klaus, stretching out his arms as if to embrace the valley, "will I make my home." And that was many, many years ago. It has been his home ever since. It is his home now. Oh, right now? Oh shoot! Let me look it up. Where's Laughing Valley? Oh, I can't find it. Google Maps sucks.
Yes, it does. Alright, and we get to skip right over teenage angst and get straight to manhood.
I mean, this was kind of like he was a teenager when he did this, right?
Yeah, basically.
Because like youth is usually used to like describe, I guess, adolescence.
Yeah. And ever since The Incredibles 2, all I can think of is she having adolescence?
A great line in a mediocre film.
Well, I mean, there was a lot of Elastigirl, so I was happy.
Go to horny jail.
What, huh? Excuse me? What was that? Was that? Did you say something, Kenzie?
You heard me. I told him to go to horny
Done,
jail.
done. Mm-hmm. Family-friendly stream. Yes, I agree, Kenzie. I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that this is a family-friendly stream. That's exactly what you just said to me. Isn't that right, Chad? That's exactly what you said.
Yes.
And that's exactly what everyone on the stream right now just heard. Let's be
Right.
clear about that. We wouldn't want any mistakes happening, would we? Nah, we wouldn't want that.
Yeah, we want to be banished to the shadow realm.
For playing a children's card game.
It's all family friendly here at the Bean Daddy Mandela channel.
I am enjoying the story thus far. I didn't like. I'm looking back at the image you chose for the stream, and I can see. You said this is from the animated version, or
Yeah.
yeah, I'm looking at it right now. The is that? I'm wondering if that fairy is supposed to be his mom.
I don't remember.
Is this from the 80s or the one from the 2000 version?
I think 2000.
So, and I don't know if this will spoil anything, so feel free to answer it later. The fuck is that in the like bottom left corner?
I think that's a Nug
Yeah, I believe
because
so.
of the hat.
Gotcha.
Why isn't it old as shit?
Well,
Alright, Kenzie, Raptor, you both get a warning now.
Oh, sorry.
I don't
Oh, that's
remember.
right. I
Have
forgot. No swearing either.
I don't
What?
remember.
Gosh
Have I
darn right.
sworn?
Why isn't it old as
Poop.
Why isn't it?
poop? Yeah, poop. Why isn't it as old as poop?
Because it's a different depiction. You got a problem with people's creative licenses? You think that everything should be uniform and like lack creativity? Is that what you're saying, Raptor? I can't believe you would say that. I can't believe you said that word for word. Unbelievable.
Speaking of Raptor, it's your turn to read
Okay.
Chapter 1 of Manhood, The Laughing Valley.
Okay. I can do this. When Claus came to the valley was empty, save for the grass, the brook, the wildflowers, the bees, and the butterflies. If he would make his home here and live after the fashion of men, he must have a house. This puzzled him at first, but while he stood smiling in the sunshine, he suddenly found beside him old Nelko. Or Nico?
Nelko.
Okay, Nelko. The servant of the master woodsman. Nelko bore an axe, strong and broad, with blade that gleamed like burnished silver. This he placed in the young man's hand, and then disappeared without a word.
So he's the cool uncle. Alright, boy. Happy birthday. Here's a gun. See you later.
Just like.
Oh my god, I'm sorry to interrupt, Vince. I'm so glad you just made that joke, Chad. Look what I just posted in the chat. I found it while Googling the two movies.
Frank got
Santa just pointed a
Always.
revolver at you.
The life and adventures of Santa Claus, a kidnapped Santa Claus story.
Ho ho ho! And a bottle of stop being naughty.
Oh, my neck. Oh, Jesus.
But yeah, I was looking it up to like look at the difference between the two, and the designs for the Rankin Bass one are really nice.
They are.
Well, I have a very
don't-
like Rankin Bass is like really not aged well in regards to the animation style, but in stop motion, but it's still warm place in my heart.
Yeah, and I can't believe I've never seen that one. I never saw the Rankin Bass one.
Oh, it's fun.
So yeah, I'll watch that one, and then I'll watch the other one, I'll call it the not Disney one, because let's be real, that's what it's trying to go for. But
oh, is this an anime version of it?
Possibly.
what are you looking at?
It's a TV series. Shonen Sentai Daiken from 1996.
Post it in the chat. Post it in the chat.
Come on,
Hold on,
Japan.
Hey, I say what you want. I always like it. Hey, we're crossing different cultural boundaries. Like, I like that. I think it's always charming.
Please post it in the chat.
Okay, that actually reminds me of when I went to Sunday school.
Okay, that actually looks like charming. Like it doesn't look like it's just a guy like leading a kind of like a little parade of a colorful cast of characters playing a flute.
Anthony says Santa-kun or Sanpai.
And now it's ruined.
Senpai.
But yeah, when I was in Sunday school, one year our teacher would put on, it was like an anime series that was truly done like the truly horrible like dubbing of 70s and 80s anime.
Mhm.
About like these two kids
Mhm.
who had a time traveling robot that would take them to like major events in the Bible. And
Superbook?
I think so.
You watch Superbook?
But like
I've actually heard of that show.
it always insisted that
Oh,
they could
Lord have
only
mercy.
like watch the things happen. They could never intervene. Like I remember one was they saw like the life of Moses and how he like fought a bunch of bandits.
All right, let's keep this train rolling.
Oh yeah.
Hold on.
Okay. Claus understood, and turning to the forest's edge, he selected a number of fallen tree trunks, which he began to clear of the dead branches. He would not cut into a living tree. His life among the nymphs who guarded the forest had taught him that a live tree is sacred, being a created thing endowed with feelings. But with dead and fallen trees, it was different. They had fulfilled their destiny as active members of the forest community, and now it was fitting that their remains should administer the needs of man.
That's when Santa first learned, oh, this is what a loophole is. I mean, technically, it's already on the ground, so, I'm not killing it. It's already dead.
Honestly, this made me think of Viva La Bam. And I know that opinions of
You old man.
it just made me think of the episode where his mom makes him breakfast, but it's Arbor Day, so she just puts like a little pine sprig on his plate. He's like, "What the fuck is this?" And she's like, "Oh, sorry." It's like, "It's for Arbor Day." What is Arbor Day? It's to celebrate trees. And he got so angry about it that he went out and just like yanked a tree out of the ground with his like SUV by the roots.
God, Van
Chad, I just
Margera used
can't
to
get
be
over
so
the fact
cool.
that you swore.
I said, "I'm sorry."
What's the show called?
Viva
La
Bam.
Bam, like Van Margera used to be like legitimately one of the coolest dudes ever.
Yep.
I've never heard of that.
Unfortunate about his uncle.
Unfortunate about him too. I think he's in a hospital,
Probably.
and his life has been falling apart because he can't like control his drug habits. Family stream, yeah. Sorry. Merry Christmas, everybody.
The axe bit deep into the logs at every stroke. It seemed to have a force of its own, and Claus had but to swing and guide it. When shadows began creeping over the green hills to lie the valley overnight, the young man had chopped many logs into equal lengths and proper shapes for building a house, such as he had seen the proper classes of men inhabit. Then, resolving
the poorer classes.
The poorer classes of men inhabit. Then,
No,
resolving.
I for some reason thought that like, oh yeah, it's probably like some just old like terminology that they used back then. I didn't even think twice about it.
Then, Resolving to wait another day before he had tried to fit the logs together, Claus ate some of the sweet roots he knew well how to find, drank deeply from the laughing brook, and lay down to sleep on the grass, first seeking a spot where no flowers grew, lest the weight of his body should crush them. And while he slumbered and breathed in the perfume of the wondrous valley, the spirit of happiness crept into his heart and drove out all terror and care and misgivings. Nevermore would the face of Claus be clouded with anxieties. Nevermore would the trials of life weigh him down as with a burden. The Laughing Valley had claimed him for its own. Would that we all might live in that delightful place.
You know what? I'm starting to think that Santa Claus is kind of a Gary Stew. Got all these superpowers in his place, and he doesn't have to worry about working, and everyone likes him. Like, okay.
You know,
Kind of cringe. What's his name? Who wrote this? Whoever you are.
Alfred
Person who
Ball.
wrote Alice in Wonderland.
you know who we can
No,
get
not
Vince
not
to
Alice
watch
in
change
Wonderland.
his mind,
Wizard
right?
of Oz.
I'm going to go on Reddit to complain about the story right now.
Anthony
Well-
says, guys, this is a family-friendly stream, so please keep it reasonable. Now, let's talk about morbid reality.
Yeah. But yeah, if you want to change Vince's opinion about Santa being a Gary Stew, let's show him the puppet history episode of Saint Nicholas.
What in the world did you just say to me?
You heard me.
I have
Oh.
no idea what that means.
He raises a pickle barrel full of dead children from back to life.
Yep.
That's super Gary Stew. Like, that's OP, man. Come on.
Yeah, but like they're in a pickle barrel.
Well, yeah. You don't like pickles? I like pickles.
Oh my god. Okay, so,
Welcome to the Bean Daddy Mandela channel.
I don't know why that made me laugh so hard. It's just like something in my brain, just like some synapses just like snaps.
We're just so chronically stupid.
What is wrong with us?
alright, so, I watched,
Pickle.
the new, the new series, the Santa Clauses. You know, based on the Santa Claus movies with Tim Allen.
There's a series now?
Yeah,
Well, it's like a series of Wait, like you mean a TV
Oh.
series?
yeah, it was on Disney Plus.
Oh,
Ew.
yeah. I think I heard of that. Yeah.
It was pretty good. But at one point he meets like all of the past Santa Clauses who came before him. And like for some comedy they get into arguing over who had the roughest time being Santa. And the one right before him
I would.
who was played by Jim O'Hare, who was Jerry in Parks and Recreation.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, please guys, I went through World War II, Vietnam, and the Star Wars holiday special, and at the last one, all of them just go, ooh.
Yes.
I think I would assume that if I were him, like, hey, Tim Allen, remember how you murdered me? They're like, it was an accident.
They say, he's like, I didn't actually die. Like, come on, I've been on roofs for thousands of years. Did you really think some guy saying, hey, you, would really startle me enough that I would slip and fall off the roof? It was because it was time to pass on the mantle.
Yeah, sure, whatever. Shut up. Get out of here with that nonsense. Friggin' George Patton died of what did George Patton die of? It was like a freaking car accident, right?
Yeah, accident.
One of the most feared generals in America, like in history. Like, oh, slipped on a banana peel and broke his neck. Life happens, bro.
He was killed.
By whom?
No, I'm saying it wasn't an accident.
Oh yeah, but I'm saying that it's really easy for powerful men to die.
Oh yeah.
That's one of the things I liked about the Santa Claus. Like it's something like a premise that's so dark And you can't shy away from that. It's like, oh, it's such a funny family movie. This man murdered Santa Claus by accident, and now he has to be Santa.
That means it's not murder; it's manslaughter.
Santa, like you saw him on the
And
roof,
me too.
and Santa slipped and he fell down. His spine probably was severed. His neck, the whiplash of his neck, probably like it was painless.
Okay. Would that we all might
Family
live
friendly.
in that delightful place, but then maybe it would become overcrowded. For ages it had awaited a tenant. Was it chance that led young Klaus to make his home in this happy vale? Or may we guess that his thoughtful friends, the immortals, had directed his steps when he wandered away from Burzy to seek a home in the great world? Certain it is that while the moon peered over the hilltop and flooded with its soft beams the body of the sleeping stranger, the laughing valley was filled with the queer, crooked shapes of the friendly nooks. These people spoke no words, but worked with skill and swiftness. The logs Klaus had trimmed with his bright axe were carried to a spot beside the brook and fitted one upon another, and during the night a strong and roomy dwelling was built. The birds came sweeping into the valley at daybreak, and their songs, so seldom heard in the deep wood, aroused the stranger. He rubbed the web of sleep from his eyelids and looked around. The house met his gaze.
I must thank the Nooks for this,
said he gratefully. Then he walked to his dwelling and entered out at the doorway. A large room faced him, having a fireplace at the end and a table and bench in the middle. Beside the fireplace was a cupboard. Another doorway was beyond. Klaus entered here, also, and saw a smaller room with a bed against the wall and a stool set near a small stand. On the bed were many layers of dried moss brought from the forest.
Indeed, it is a palace,
exclaimed the smiling Klaus.
I must thank the good Nooks again for their knowledge of man's needs as well as for their labors on my behalf.
This is charming as hell.
I I don't know if I could say I took issue with it. Like I was a little like disappointed how easy I guess Klaus had it immediately with like everyone looking after it, but I just realized that the fact that it could have been worse in the sense that they didn't tell them that they were going to do all this for him. And now I think he has a decent expectation for what to expect in regards to stuff like this because he knows who's doing it for him. Instead of just assuming that it was just like, oh, how lucky I is that I found the house just materialized in front of me.
Hey, free house.
Yeah. But also, like, you know, it still sounds more like a more modest house because, like, it's still covered in, it's mossy and it's not overly extravagant. And he's like, indeed, it's a palace.
Yeah.
Mrs. Claus is going to be kind of
so
weirded out when she comes in. It's like, oh, gonna take me back home to why is there like algae growing right here? Like that's my bed.
But Vince, you know who didn't have the benefit of being raised like that?
Who?
Link. That's why, you know, in every game he just like strides into everyone's house like he owns the place, smashing their pots, taking their stuff.
I thought you were talking about Link from Bioman's channel. His father made him sleep on Mars like you need to be raised strong, son, so he can eventually defeat me in battle.
Oh no. I mean, yeah, Link he was raised by fairies, but they did teach him these lessons, so it's just like, oh, free house, man. Nice.
Break someone's pottery and the only thing that Link can't get away with is stealing from shopkeepers, otherwise he will bring down the wrath of God on you.
Yes.
Those damn Hyrule fairies. Sorry, those Dawn Hyrule fairies.
Whoa, man.
Sorry.
The gnomes are handing you a
jeez,
man, like feather.
Oh no, I failed.
No, your blatant anti-Hyrulean like rhetoric right here. Look, I don't got nothing against Hyruleans. It's just you know,
I wouldn't want to let one date my daughter.
Some of my best friends are from Hyrule.
Yeah, my daughter ain't dating one of those knife ears.
Whoa, Chad.
No,
you know how offensive that is?
No. Elves are evil in every single piece of literature. We're too good to help you mortals. We live forever, and we have pointy ears. And we live in the forests, so that makes us better than you. But we don't need to buy houses.
Actually, something that, of all things, 8-Bit Theater brings up. It's like, so you elves are always going on about how amazing you are, so technologically advanced. Yet, after 10,000 years, your technology is still just on par with mankind's.
Yeah.
Well, we like it that way.
It's our culture, you insensitive so and so.
All right. So
We would never murder each other for no reason. Oh, really? Okay, whatever you say, dog.
reminds me of one of the dumbest things I've ever read. Someone on Facebook saying human beings are the only species on the planet that kill members of their own species.
Lions.
For,
I'll be
I
a
guess
joke
for,
to you.
I guess for fun.
No, they just said at all.
Oh well, that's demonstrably wrong and so pig-headed and stupid. I don't feel the need to entertain it.
Yeah,
We're gonna
that's
repeat.
actually incorrect.
Yeah, the
Dogs.
most upvoted response was that's not even close to true.
Oh, some of those people is like, if you love nature so much, then stop like gallivanting around with normal people. Just go out in the forest and live there and see how long you last.
Yeah. Alright, so he left his new home with a glad feeling that he was not quite alone in the world, although he had chosen to abandon his forest life. Friendships are not easily broken, and the immortals are everywhere. Upon reaching the brook, he drank of the pure water, and then sat down on the bank to laugh at the mischievous gambols of the ripples as they pushed one another against rocks and crowded desperately to see which should first reach the turn beyond. And as they raced away, he listened to the song they sang. So what do you want to take this? I am not a singer.
Hold on, I gotta get a royalty-free hip hop beat. Pushing, away we go. You sing. I don't feel like doing that.
Great.
My neck hurts.
Rushing, pushing, on we go. Now the wave may gently flow. All too excited, every drop delighted. Turn to spray in a merry play as we tumble on our way.
At least it sounds good phonetically.
Crap, now I'm just like connecting everything with Legend of Zelda. Next, Claus searched for roots to eat, while the daffodils turned their little eyes up to him laughingly and lisped their dainty song. Come on, Kenzie, lisp.
There's not many really S's in this.
That's fine.
How am I gonna lisp? Okay. Blooming fairly, growing rarely, never florets. We're so gay. Perfume breathing, joy bequeathing, our colors we display.
It made Klaus laugh to hear the little things voice their happiness as they nodded gracefully on their stems. But another strain caught his ear as the sunbeams fell gently across his face and whispered,
Here in gladness that our rays warm the valley through the days. Here is happiness to give, comfort unto all who live.
Yes!
cried Klaus in answer.
There is happiness and joy in all things here. The Laughing Valley is a valley of peace and goodwill.
This is so delightful.
Yeah, but see, I was thinking that it's like, as he gets older, but you know what would make this valley even better? If everything was covered in heavy snow.
Then every droplet of snow also sings.
That's how he's kept people away from the North Pole. Every single snowflake sings constantly, so you go in, it's like your ears are being assaulted.
What about the plants underneath them? Like, oh, they're being suffocated. Don't worry about them. It's like, that's why the snow sings so loud. They need to drown out the sounds. Like, help us, Santa.
I can hear you. Ho ho ho.
He passed the day talking.
Santa laughing at them. Oh, I can't even hear what you're trying to say.
He's passed the day talking with the ants and beetles and exchanging jokes with the light-hearted butterflies, and at night he lay on his bed of soft moss and slept soundly. Then came the fairies, merry but noiseless, bringing skillets and pots and dishes and pans and all the tools necessary to prepare food and to comfort a mortal. With these they filled cupboard and fireplace, finally placing a stout suit of wool clothing on the stool by the bedside. Honestly, though, like, again, this isn't really, like, cheating in any way. You know what this is? This is
What?
This is a housewarming party.
Yeah. Shot.
Oh,
Who
your
made the
first,
jello shots?
yeah, your first house. Okay, here's some pots and pans.
That's
The looks come and they're like, I got you this blender. You have no use for it, but it's there if you want it.
And then you got like the balding neighbor with a mustache who always dresses like it's his day off. Here, it's a fruit roll up. I was gonna make you a casserole, but
you're really gonna
I
make a
don't know what a
reference to that.
casserole is.
yes.
You're really gonna make a reference to that in a Santa Claus story, man? What's wrong with you? I do like. I'm just imagining like he has like when Mrs. Claus moves in, it's like, oh, we got an oven now, and Santa's like, what's an oven? What's that for? What's that? I'm like, okay, well, you have a fire in here, and then we could cook like meat and whatnot. And he's like, what's meat? It's animal flesh. You eat animals?
It's like just like whispers to him, I won't tell if you don't. It's like slowly takes a piece of venison, puts it in his mouth. Oh wow.
Well, but he's crying while he does it. He's like, "What do you think?" And he's like,
like that filthy Frank video. He's just biting into it. I'm sorry, God. Oh no.
He picks up a fork and looks. He picks like a forkful of it and looks at it. Daddy.
What? Like a reindeer just like pokes its head into the window. Sorry, you gonna stop? No. No. Cam says his reaction to waking up and seeing all the new things. Ho ho huh?
So I back to a serious story criticism. I guess. Well, not criticism, just commenting on certain things. Like I like how for as I guess you could call it stern or gruff as the Master Woodsman is. He's obviously like still has a great amount of care for him, and like I want to make absolute sure that this boy is taken care of.
Oh yeah, he's like the gruff guy with a heart of gold. And now I'm just thinking of when Trunks gets blasted by Cell. My baby boy.
Boo, boo.
Alright, when Klaus awoke, he rubbed his eyes again and laughed and spoke aloud his thanks to the fairies and the Master Woodsman who had sent them. With eager joy, he examined all his new possessions, wondering what some might be used for. But in the days when he had clung to the girdle of the great Ak and visited the cities of men, his eyes had been quick to note all the manners and customs of the race to which he belonged. So he guessed from the gifts brought by the fairies that the master expected him hereafter to live in the fashion of his fellow creatures.
Is that 3?
No, that's
or
Vince.
no? Oh wait. Vince.
I'm sorry, what? I zoned out for a second.
Uh,
Oh, where are we?
which
means I must plow the earth and plant corn,
he reflected.
so that when winter comes, I shall have gathered food in plenty.
But as he stood in the grassy valley, he saw that to turn up the earth in furrows would be to destroy hundreds of pretty, helpless flowers, as well as thousands of the tender blades of grass. And this he could not bear to do.
Dang hippie.
Your turn, Kens.
Okay. In this, he could not. Hang on, I'm lost a little bit. Where'd you start out?
Therefore,
Therefore.
he stretched.
Hang on, I'm looking. It didn't skip, I don't think. Hang on.
You see, folks, this is what happens when you don't just shell out $2.99 for the official ebook.
What page?
34.
33. At least it says 33 on mine.
It's 34
So-
on mine.
The tone you
Therefore,
took
he
when
stretched out his arms and uttered a peculiar whistle and that he had learned in the forest. Afterward, crying.
Okay, where? Therefore, rails of the field flowers, come to me.
Distantly, a dozen of the queer little rails. Is it reels? Riles?
Riles, I think. Sorry, I mispronounced it.
Riles were squatting upon the ground before him, and they nodded to him in cheerful greeting. Klaus gazed upon them earnestly.
Your brothers of the forest.
He said,
I have known and loved many years. I shall love you also, when we have become friends too. To me, the laws of the Riles, whether those of the forest or the field, are sacred. I have never willfully destroyed one of the flowers you tend to so carefully. But I must plant grain to use for food during the cold winter, and how am I to do this without killing the little creatures that sing to me so prettily of their fragrant blossoms?
the yellow Ryle, who tends the buttercups, made answer.
Fret not, friend Claus. The great Ock has spoken to us of you. There's better work for you in life than to labor for food, and though, not being of the forest, Ock has no command over us, nevertheless we are glad to favor one he loves. Live, therefore, to do the good work you are resolved to undertake. We, the field Riles, will attend to your food supplies.
After the speech, the Riles were no longer to be seen, and Klaus drove from his mind the thought of tilling the earth.
I'm
When
sorry,
next
I just imagine Klaus going, okay, but God help you if I hear any talk of unionizing.
I'm just wondering how. I'm wondering how Klaus is actually going to be involved in this, because it seems like everything's being taken care of. Like, this is supposed to be his, like, what he perceives as his calling. So to be fair, it could be just be some like, don't worry about the things that you need to survive. Just focus on your calling, like actually like making and delivering the presents. If that's even where this is going, as far as I know, maybe this interpretation of Santa Claus is just like my calling to go and be a party performer for children. I don't know.
Oh, you'll see. It all comes together.
Okay. When next he wandered back to his dwelling, a bowl of fresh milk stood upon the table. Bread was in the cupboard, and sweet honey filled a dish beside it. A pretty basket of rosy apples and new plucked grapes were also awaiting him. He called out
Thanks, my friends.
to the invisible Riles, and straightway began to eat the food. Thereafter, when hungry, he had but to look into the cupboard to find goodly supplies brought by the kindly Riles. And the Nooks cut and stacked much wood for his fireplace, and the fairies brought him warm blankets and clothing. So began his life in the Laughing Valley, with the favor and friendship of the immortals to minister his every want.
Wait, I just thought of something.
What'd
So Klaus is basically more or less a vegetarian, right?
Yeah, I guess
And
so.
I think that's how he was reared as a child too. But when he was a newborn, the creature that gave him milk till he could sustain himself was actually contemplating eating him.
Yeah.
So what's the deal? So meat eating is fine for them and not for, I'm very confused.
I think they're probably going with like the same logic of, other vegetarians. Like, it's the natural order for animals to eat meat, but
But he's an omnivore, so he can eat meat too, right?
Yes.
he could, but He just
Alfred,
was raised not to.
Alfred Brum, I think you made a plot hole. I'm gonna send. I'm gonna. Where is he?
Don't
You're
think
gonna send an angry letter to his descendants.
No, I'm gonna send it to him. Where is he? Where is he right now? Can I? Does he have a Twitter?
He's dead.
Does he have? That doesn't answer my question. Is he on Twitter? Like, where can I find him on Tumblr? Where is he?
Vince uses a Ouija board to contact him just to tell him about the plot hole.
I mean,
He's
Chad,
on
you know
Ouija.
what? No one tell him.
Hashtag canceled.
He's been dead for 103 years now.
That doesn't mean he can't have a Twitter. Stan Lee still has a Twitter, and it still updates.
Oh,
So that means he's immortal.
So disgusting.
They're
But yeah,
going
Cam
straight
said-
to heck.
Cam says he's on MySpace.
So he's dead. Oh, why didn't you say so? So how much further are we going? I got some things I want to do.
Page 60.
We're going all the way to page 60.
Yeah.
Ken,
Uh,
do you think we can lessen it a little bit? Because I'm going shopping, and
Oh, yeah.
I told my mom.
Okay, yeah, actually, I actually thank you for saying that, because it occurred to me like 5 minutes before I started the call, like, we don't have to finish this before Christmas time. Like, we can keep going after.
Right.
So, like, we can make it 3 parts if you guys want to, try and do, like, 35 each time.
Yeah, like that's fine.
Okay.
That's good.
Like we can go past 35. Like we don't have to end it now, but if we just like somewhere like find a happy medium, just because.
Yeah, let's do one more chapter. It'll
I think it ends
the-
at 47, so I think that's fair.
Yeah, it'll get us to like the 2-hour mark. We've covered a good bit, so.
So you just want me to do this chapter, or? All right, I think like I'll do one more page.
Yeah.
Chapter 2nd. I know it's like written long ago, but I'm not going to get over how these chapters are written.
How Claus made the first toy.
Aw. Truly, our Claus had wisdom for his good fortune, but strengthened his resolve to befriend the little ones of his own race. He knew his plan was approved by the immortals, else they would have not favored him so greatly. So he began at once to make acquaintance with mankind. He walked through the valley to the plain beyond, and crossed the plain in many directions to reach the abodes of men. These stood singly, or in groups of dwellings called villages, and in near all the houses, whether big or little, Claus found children. The youngster soon came to know his merry, laughing face, and the kind glance of his bright eyes. And the parents, while they regarded the young man with some scorn for loving children more than their elders, were content that the girls and boys had found a playfellow who seemed willing to amuse them. So the children romped and played games with Claus, and the boys rode upon his shoulders, and the girls nestled in his strong arms, and the babies clung fondly to his knees.
I don't like how hard I'm smiling right now.
Oh. Whenever the young man chanced to be, the sound of childish laughter followed him. And to understand this better, you must know the children were much neglected in those days and received little attention from their parents. And now is a downer. So that it became to them a marvel that so goodly a man as Claus had devoted his time to making them happy. And those who knew him were, you may be sure, very happy indeed. The sad faces of the poor and abused grew bright for once. The cripple smiled despite his misfortune. The ailing ones hushed their moans, and the grieved ones their cries when their merry friend came nigh to comfort them. All right, Vince.
I was gonna make a kind of tasteless comment, but I
Don't
don't
you
wanna
dare.
Why? You don't even know what it was.
I do have to say, I thought of another reference from Aqua Teen Hunger Force, though, about him making the first toy. Soon they were made into familiar shapes and given names like Train.
I was gonna say
But still,
like Santa Claus.
these were defecated upon and hurled at predators because they were so stupid.
I was gonna make a comment about Santa coming and curing people's leprosy.
I mean,
As
that was nice of him too.
that's the joke to me was that Santa is actually secretly Jesus. Have you ever seen him in the same room? I think not. Only at the beautiful place of the Lord of Lurd, at the frowning castle of Baron Braun, whilst Claus refused admittance. There were children at both places, but the servants at the palace shut the door at the young stranger's face, and the fierce Baron threatened to hang him from an iron hook from the castle walls. Whereupon
Jeez.
Claus, I just want to make your kid laugh. Like, get out of here, you creepy weird. I don't know you. Go away. We get invaders every other day. Why would you think I just invite a random stranger into my house to play with my children who's gonna like inherit the throne at some point? Whereupon Klaus sighed and went back to the poor dwellings where he was welcome. After a time, winter drew near. The flowers lived out their lives and faded and disappeared. The beetles burrowed far into the warm earth. The butterflies deserted the meadows, and the voice of the brook grew hoarse, as if taken cold. One day, snowflakes filled the air in the Laughing Valley, dancing boisterously. Oh, we were joking about them talking, so they actually are sentient. Dancing boisterously toward the earth, and clothing the pure white raiment of the roof and of Klaus's dwelling. At night, Jack Frost rapped at the door.
Can I be
Come-
Jack Frost?
Sure, cried Claus.
Come out,
Oh, that Jack, answered Jack.
for you have a fire inside.
Oh, that's kind of funny, actually. I'm not going in there. So Klaus came out. He had known Jack Frost in the forest and liked the Jolly Rogue, even while he mistrusted him.
There will be a worse sport for me tonight, Claus.
Shouted the sprite.
Isn't it glorious weather? I shall nip scores of noses and ears and toes before daybreak.
If you love me, Jack, spare the children, begged Klaus.
And why?
Asked the other in surprise. They are tender and helpless, answered Klaus.
But I love to nip the tender ones.
Declared Jack.
911, yes, hello.
No, just right from behind Klaus, Chris Hansen steps out.
I'm gonna need you to have
There's
a
like a-
seat right there.
It's like a PNG version of him just like slowly rising over his shoulder.
Where did you come from? The future.
Who are you? Yeah, that doesn't worry. What do you need to worry about? Why don't you take a seat over here on the stump?
I come from the future of Dateline NBC.
The older ones are tough and tire my fingers.
The young ones are weak and they cannot fight you, said Klaus.
Whoa.
Agreed Jack thoughtfully.
Well, I will not change a child this night, if I can resist the temptation.
He promised. Well, that's
911,
literally.
yes, hello.
What do you mean he promised? That's literally saying like, okay, I won't do it, but no promises.
Yeah.
Good night, Claus.
Good night. The young man went in and closed the door, and Jack Frost ran into the nearest forest. Klaus threw a log on the fire, which burned brightly. Besides the hearth sat Blinky, a big cat given to him by Peter the Nook. Oh. I'm sick and tired of this story making me feel enchanted. Her fur was soft and glossy, and she purred a never-ending songs of contentment. I shall not see the children again soon, said Claus to the cat, who kindly paused in her song to listen. The winter is upon us, and the snow will be deep for many days, and I shall be unable to play with my little friends.
I shall
The
be
cat
unable
raised-
to play with. Stop it! The bowl is not empty.
Are you making fun of me now?
What?
That's exactly how I talk to my cat. Because it'll come out like if it's like, hey, it's 75% full. That means it's 25% empty. Like, no, finish that.
The bowl is not empty. Then why can I see the bottom?
I shall not see. Okay, where was I? The cat raised a paw and stroked her nose thoughtfully, but made no reply. It's like cat, like, how can we solve this conundrum? So long as the fire burned, Klaus sat in his easy chair by the hearth. She did not mind the weather. So passed many days and many long evenings. The cupboard was always full, but I keep calling him Santa. But Claus became weary with having nothing to do more than feed the fire with some more of the big wood piles the Nooks had brought him. One evening, he picked up a sharp stick of wood and began to cut it with a sharp knife. Was the wood sentient? Did it scream? He had no thought at first, except to occupy his time, and he whistled and sang to the cat as he carved away portions of the stick. Puss sat up on her haunches and watched him, listening to at the same time to her master's merry whistle, which she loved to hear even more than her own purring songs. Klaus glanced at the puss, and then at the stick.
Who giggled?
No,
Shut up.
I'm sorry. I'm laughing because I'm just imagining like him using dead trees for so many things. He finally returns to the forest and just hears the trees whispering, "It's the necromancer."
He just walks by and like trees just uproot themselves to like get out of his way. Like they're trying to be like super nice, like, "Hey Santa, how you doing, buddy? You're looking good. You lost weight, brother. By the way, that Frank the oak over there, he said so many nasty things about you."
Jerry, come on, man!
It's better you than me. I got sprouts to feed.
You saw what he did to Frank's son.
He turned him into a chair. And my daughter, she's a choo-choo train. They cast at the puss, and then the stick he was whittling. Then presently the wood began to have a shape, and the shape was like that of the head of a cat with two ears sticking upwards. Klaus stopped whistling to laugh, and both he and his cat looked at the wooden image in some surprise. When he carved out the eyes and the nose and around the lower part of the head, so that it rested upon the neck, Puss could hardly. She has a name. Puss could hardly knew what to make of it now, and sat up stiffly, as if watching with some suspicion of what will come next. Klaus knew the head had given him an idea. He applied the knife carefully and with skill, forming slowly the body of the cat, which he made to sit upon the haunches of the real cat, as the real cat did, with her tail wound around her front two legs. I mean, it doesn't have any articulation, so it's not a very good toy. I'm just saying. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
I want the Spider-Man with like 45% articulation. The work cost him much time, and the evening was long, and he had nothing better to do. Finally, he gave a loud and delighted laugh at the result of his labors, and placed the wooden cat, now completed, upon the hearth opposite to the real one. Puss thereon glared at her image, raised her hair in anger, and uttered a defiant view. The wooden cat paid no attention, and Klaus, much amused, laughed again. I am not that fat.
Everyone's a critic.
Then Blinky advanced towards the wooden image, eyed it closely, and smelled it intelligently. The eyes and nose told her that the creature was wood, in spite of its natural appearance. So Puss resumed her seat and her purring, but as she neatly washed her face with a padded paw, she cast one more admiring glance at her clever master. Perhaps she felt the same satisfaction we feel when we look upon the good photographs of ourselves.
I'm sorry, I have to call BS. The cat would just, like, shove it off the edge.
No, it's not easily breakable. They wouldn't do that.
True.
It's like, oh, look at this. Hey, Blinky, I'm just going to put my Fabergé egg collection right here.
You fool.
You walked into my trap.
You
Ooh,
activated
here-
my trap card.
I'm just gonna set my life-saving insulin medicine over here on the edge, right here. And
Family
this glass
friendly.
canister. Hey, what's wrong? There's nothing wrong with taking insulin. The cat's master himself was pleased with the handiwork. Oh, by the way, before you leave me on a joke, I wanted to point out I really like. I don't know. I just really find it like endearing that the cat is like, oh, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
The cat's master himself was pleased upon his handiwork. If you can't tell, we were actually really like the story so far.
Yes, I'm loving
Yeah, we're
it.
not reading this to mock it. We're just trying to get y'all into the Christmas spirit.
Without
Twist.
knowing exactly why. Indeed,
To be clear, that was the end of the sentence, not Vince saying we don't know exactly why we're trying to get you into the Christmas
Yeah.
spirit.
well, it's indeed. Well, we're so bitter and cynical. Yet, in this time of year, I feel this warmth in my heart. Feel like it's growing 3 times its normal size.
What's even the point in trying with you cynical heathens?
Indeed, he had a great cause to congratulate himself that night, and all the children throughout the world should have joined him in rejoicing. For Claus made his first toy.
All right. So, I know you guys have said you're enjoying it. What's everyone in the chat think so far?
Ash is mocking us for our slip-ups.
Come on,
Family
Anthony.
friendly. You know me. Do you have any idea how much effort it takes for me to bite my tongue? The horrible things I say day to day, not just on streams, in my day-to-day life.
We appreciate your effort.
I'm making this is a personal sacrifice on my event. I should be getting a medal,
You should. You're not going to get one, but you should.
a chocolate one, because I'm fat.
Speaking of enjoying things, I hope everyone is enjoying the Santified avatars on the screen thanks to Raptor.
More of my great handiwork.
Indeed.
I don't know about great. Let's not. I'm not gonna gas you up that much, big man. You gotta stay humble, like our boy Santa over here, our
Yeah.
boy Claus.
Anthony says, "Children rejoice! Your God, Santa, has made his first toy. Also, I'm liking it. I'm glad you're liking
Yeah,
it."
it is. This is incredibly charming.
Yeah.
Who would have thought that the guy who wrote Alice in Wonderland could write a really charming story?
Wizard of
The
Oz.
Wizard of Oz, not Alice in Wonderland.
What? Huh? What? What's the difference?
One isn't like a drug-inspired, like, fever dream.
Which one?
Yes.
Well, look, I'm just saying the guy who wrote Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, he's really good at writing Christmas stories, all right?
Yeah, honestly though, like with all the fantasy creatures that Baum chose for his stories, he said it was because he didn't want to seem like, he didn't want to go with like elves and dwarves to seem like he was trying to ride the coattails of people like Tolkien.
Right.
One thing I just recently found out that apparently the guy who wrote Conan the Barbarian and H.P. Lovecraft were actually like really good friends.
Oh yeah,
And they
Howard.
made I had no idea, like, and they make reference to each other's works in their
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah,
That's
Robert Howard. Yeah, a couple old ones show up in some Conan stories.
pretty. How does that work? How does Conan not instantly dead then?
Like some minor ones in like
Oh, minor.
who are only in physical form.
Okay, fair enough. Well, okay, wait a minute. He's friends with H.P. Lovecraft. You know what that means. That means we must seek and destroy him as well.
Yeah.
To be fair, I'm pretty sure people would say that Conan's problematic too, even though I don't care. It's fun.
Yeah, they are very good stories.
Also has one of my favorite lines. Well, it was when you like read a quote but you don't really know the context.
Yeah.
As like I have one character saying to like try being a woman in a man's you don't know what it's like to be a woman in a man's world, and Conan just looks at her not impressed, like try being a man in it. Like this doesn't even like whatever. I don't want to hear it. Okay, I gotta deal with a lot of crap. I'm not dealing with this too.
All right, but yeah, so that was part 1 of the life and adventures of Santa Claus. I'm glad you all enjoyed. I remember when Conan met Lovecraft's cat. Wait, you don't remember? Yeah, that was the true evil in the stories.
Battle for the
Yeah,
ages, I must say.
Conan's cat. Yes, Blinky.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be back sometime over the next week before Christmas. If not, we'll lead into the new year with more of the story.
Sure.
And
Uh,
if we're not back before then Merry Christmas to everyone. I hope you have a great one.
The world is bitter and cynical, but that doesn't mean you have to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
I just choose to be.
so thank you everyone for joining us for this absolutely family-friendly stream. And we will see you guys next time. Same bean time, same bean channel.
Good
Merry
night, guys. Have a good
Christmas.
weekend.
Excelsior.
Okay, Vince.